Hi everybody, my name is Laurie and welcome along to another edition of AFTV FANZONE, the show that gives the fans the opportunity to come on and air their views and have their say. But without any further ado, let me first introduce my guest on today's show, none other than AFTV's Turkish in the house. What are you saying, bro?
All good, man. It's been a little while.
It's been a
Went
while.
on a little trip to Barca. People asking me where my match review was, why I'm not on forever. I'm back, people. I'm back.
You're back. You caught up with the game, right?
Yeah. I watched.
Very briefly, your thoughts?
I think Everton did what we thought Everton would do. We controlled the game. We dominated. We deserved the win. That Martinelli goal should have stood. So I don't understand all of these, now this whole rule change about if the player that deflects it is not in control of the ball. That just scrap VAR. I'm tired of it, scrap VAR. But it didn't cost us on Sunday. And Trossard popped up with a beautiful goal. Left foot finish, nice off the post.
It's good to get the so-called Everton Goodison Park hoodoo off our backs. And I agree with you. We won the game. To me, 1-0 flattered Everton. We were by far the better team. But anyway, sorry.
Arteta's actually done well with all of these hoodoos over the years. I think,
one by one is breaking them down.
I mean, Brighton away last year, we won that, but then we got smoked at home, so people might mention that. Everton, we drew to Liverpool last year. That's a welcome change from the wins, but obviously at the time we won from the losses, but obviously we wanted to win.
There's one big one we need to get rid of, though, right?
Tottenham away was a big one, but the biggest of them all is Manchester City.
Man City, man, that's the one we got to throw. But anyway, that's in the future. Let's concentrate on things more current. And today's subject matter concerns what I would call Arsenal's multifarious campaign. Now, I know you like the big words like me. Multifarious means that...
I don't know if Cecil likes the big words.
Okay, multifarious, for those of you who don't know, means that Arsenal this season are in a number of competitions, namely the Premier League, the Champions League, and of course the domestic competitions. And it's my contention that we want to do as well as we can in all of those competitions. The Premier League, we were runners up to Man City last season, performed very well, kind of fell away a little bit at the end, but that's that. And the Champions League, which we qualified for. Now, let's be honest, if we're being completely honest with ourselves, Arsenal's Champions League performances, apart from 2006 when we got to the final, losing to a very good Barcelona side, our Champions League campaigns have been somewhat disappointing. In fact, I remember the last time we were in the Champions League, was it 2017? We ended up getting humiliated by Bayern 10-2 on aggregate. So I think it's fair to say that we do want a very good Champions League.
A better representation of ourselves, to say the least.
Put it better myself. So we're now back in the Champions League for the first time in 6 years, and quite rightly, the fans are expectant. And one of the debates that's taking place online and up and down the country in pubs involving Arsenal fans is, what do you prefer to do well in this season? Would you rather win the Premier League or would you rather win the Champions League? Which competition would you prioritise? Now, both would be major achievements for the club. But I know that some fans are going to have their favourites. Now, for me, I'm just going to put my cards on the table. If I'm given the choice, if the God up there said, Laurie, you can win one of those two competitions, for me, I'm taking the Premier League. Although I'd love to win the Champions League as well, but I've taken the Premier League, and I'll tell you why, and I'll just be very brief with this. It's my contention that if you're a big club, your focus should be to win your domestic league. There's nothing better, in my view, than being crowned champions of your own country. The league is the lifeblood of your existence, really. It's a competition that you play week in, week out. And I would also say that if you're not champions of your own country and you do go on to win the Champions League, can you realistically...
I'm glad you said that.
Can you realistically call yourselves the champions of Europe when in reality you're not even champions of your own country? And there's several other layers to it, but I'll bring you in. What's your take?
I'm glad you said that, because I've mentioned that quite a few times over the years, that, listen, obviously winning Champions Leagues is something we haven't done before. And over the last 20 years, clubs, a rival club in London have managed to do it twice. Manchester City had done it last season. But there's a certain way, which I grew up on, there's a certain way you do it to be the best in Europe, or to be in with a shout to be the best. You don't just win the Champions League and you're the best in Europe. You do win the Champions League and it goes into your history, your heritage, and it becomes a big part of any debate about who's the bigger club, who's the better club, and so on. Yes, that I will not dismiss that. Whether you win it alongside the Premier League, or whether you win it finishing outside the top four, you still get it under your belts. But there's a difference between winning it when you're competing at the very top of the Premier League and winning it when you've got no hope in the Premier League, like Chelsea did a few years ago. Liverpool, I remember Liverpool won Champions League where they finished behind Everton. So how are you champions of Europe when Merseyside, you're not even the champions there that season?
Exactly.
So, and this ain't no diss to Liverpool. Even I think Liverpool fans will probably appreciate the ones they won when they're competing at the top of the Premier League more so than the ones they won under the radar per se. Because the last time Liverpool won the Champions League, they was the best team in Europe. They didn't win the league alongside it, but they finished second, a close second, and they've still been fighting in and around those years of winning the Champions League. So there's a lot more credit in winning the Champions League whilst competing at the top of your domestic league. I think I'm with you. A 38 game season defines who's the better team in that league. Whether you're first, second, third, fourth, wherever you finish over 38 games, the table doesn't lie.
That's what we're always told. The table doesn't lie. It's a marathon, not sprint. 38 games, and if you can come out on top of your peers after 38 games, then you can quite rightfully say you are the best team in the league, without a doubt. But where do you stand? If somebody gave you that choice, say, look, you can have the Premier League or you can have the Champions League. Which one do you want?
It's a tough one, Laurie, It's a tough one.
It is a tough one, to be honest.
I've always said Premier League. I've always said that because it's a 38 game season. I want to be back at the top of our domestic league before or at the same time as being on top of Europe. That's what I'd ideally want. But the people in my comments on my channel tend to remind me that the opposition fans have that Champions League win over us, and that's really one of the only things that they have over us, like a Chelsea per se. So winning the Champions League would eliminate all of that noise, and there's a hell of a lot of noise about it.
That's true.
Your European heritage. You're not going to do this, and is it us? You didn't even win the Europa League, and we have been embarrassing you more so in Europa League, and towards the end of Wenger's tenure at Arsenal, we was embarrassing in Europe. My first appearance on AFTV came at Luton Airport after that 5-1.
Oh, right.
And then I was back at the Emirates for the second leg. Don't ask me why, but I saw another 5-1.
Glutton for punishment.
Yeah, so it's a tough question. Usually I say Premier League, but I think I lean towards Champions League because a lot of people annoy me nowadays with this whole...
What do you think's harder?
Premier League.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like we said, the 38 games, the rivalries that you would contest. So, for example, even look at this season alone, right? So there's 7 London clubs in the Premier League, okay? So that's 6 other teams that you got to play London derbies against.
Yeah.
2 games each. That's 12 London derby games. You know what I mean? And week in, week out, we know what the Premier League's like, man. It's a very unforgiving playground. It's hard going, man. It's intense. Everyone's coming with an agenda to either beat you or take you down, you know what I mean? So the games are hard. So I think winning the Premier League is more difficult because it has a greater intensity to it. I think the Champions League has more of a kudos, and especially you raised a quite valid point that we've not really done that well. I mean, we got to one final in 2006. A final I was at, by the way. Me and Robbie was at that final in Paris when we played Barca, and that was a good team we lost to. There was no shame in that. But even so, we've never won it, and that was the closest we've come to. And as you highlighted, Turkish, some of our performances in the Champions League have been less than stellar. And the Europa League, you were quite right. You mentioned even the Europa League, man. I mean, you got to that final against Chelsea. We were, let's face it,
smoked,
soundly beaten. Yeah, and that's being kind. And then even last year, we went out to Sporting, man. It was a bit of a damp squib.
Yeah.
So our European record is not the best. You know what I mean?
We need to level up now.
Yeah.
I think this is the next step. Everyone, all of us wanted the Premier League title last year because we were so close to it, leading the way for over 90% of the season. And in the end, we ended with nothing in terms of trophies. But what we did end with was Champions League entry, which is which we all wanted. And at the start of the season, I think that would have been the bare minimum, qualify for Champions League, and we did that. But I've always said I don't want to be back in the Champions League just to be back in the Champions League. No. I want to be back in the Champions League to try and win it.
Absolutely.
This ain't this whole top 4 is a trophy thing, or now it's top 5 is a trophy. No, none of that. It's not a trophy. Entering the competition is not a trophy. Yeah. Going far and building on what we done last season, That's not even a trophy. Winning it, that's how you get the trophy. So
you're not one of those, I'm just glad to be here fans.
nah, I'm not one of those. You get different parents. Some of the parents is like, it's the taking part that matters. You're there to win. You don't win.
No, I'm with you on that.
You took part, but you lost. Like,
We've also got a poll out there reflecting this discussion, and like I said, it's a very lively discussion. I'm sure it's a discussion that's been had up and down the country of Arsenal fans across the world. What's more important to you, winning the Champions League or winning the Premier League? It's as simple as that. Right, we've got some callers. We've got Robin on. Hey, Robin, how you doing, bro?
Good, you?
I'm all right, man. What are you saying? The title there, prioritising the Premier League or the Champions League. Where do you stand on that, my friend?
It's actually quite difficult for me because I only started watching football in 2005.
Okay.
And I am Dutch and I support Ajax, and I've only started supporting Arsenal in 2016, so I've never seen Arsenal lift the Premier League trophy. So I don't know. It's the only trophy that's missing in our cabinet. So I might edge the Champions League trophy for me.
What would you say to those people like myself who say, okay, yeah, you're right, we never won the Champions League, but we've not won the Premier League in nearly 20 years either. Last time was 2004.
Yeah, just before we started watching football.
So that's a long, long time, man. And really, you do really want to be known as champions of your own domain, don't you?
That's true.
Can you realistically claim you're the best team in Europe if you've not really won your own league?
I don't know. It's difficult because that's the way ideally that's the way you want to win it, beat champions and also win the Champions League. But at this point, I don't really care, to be honest. I just want to win the Champions League.
Yeah,
because
I would agree though. Winning the Champions League there is a lot of kudos attached to it. So it does put you in a very select group of elite clubs that can say they've been champions of Europe. I mean, Chelsea fans are always, that song, you'll never sing that, and all the rest of it. There is a certain kudos attached to being the winners of the Champions League. I get that.
Robin, who's the biggest club in England, in your opinion? Outside looking in, obviously.
For me, there are 3 clubs, and that's Manchester United, Arsenal, and Liverpool.
Okay. Is it for you? Is it that order or?
Maybe Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, that order.
What about you, Laurie? Who's the biggest club in England?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say Arsenal, but if I was to adopt a neutral stance, I'd probably have to be honest and say Man United are the biggest club in terms of overall status, all things being considered, yeah.
And it tends to be Man United the answer to this question a lot of the time. That's why I asked. Maybe I'm wrong, but Liverpool have considerably more Champions Leagues than Man United, right? They have more Champions Leagues than Man United. Man United have more league titles. Over the years, league titles, people try and diminish the value of a Premier League title in comparison to the Champions League. But your domestic titles is what makes you a great club. Obviously, the Champions League added to that plays a part too.
I think the Champions League is more sexy, isn't it? If you can say, yeah, man, Champions League winners, champions of Europe, best club side in the world, because people automatically transpose and say, if you're champions of Europe, you're the best club side in the world, which doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there is a certain kudos attached to that. But at grassroots, at fundamental level, to me, it's about winning your own league. Especially a club like Arsenal that have not won the league now for, like I said, nigh on 20 years. We have to start winning that Premier League.
No, I 100% agree. 100%. Ideally, that would be the perfect world. You win it together this season, perfect. Or you win the Premier League this season, Champions League next season. I'll take that as well. But really, domestically, you want to... I know how Robin feels because I just said it. All of the noise around us not, winning anything big in the Champions League or the Europa League, all of that noise, I'm fed up of it because I'm fed up because I've got nothing to say to counter it. All I can really say is, well, you haven't got a gold trophy, Invincibles, and then they try and mock that in comparison. And really, I shouldn't be throwing that into the mix because it's a completely different achievement. So I do want to put an end to all of these United fans, Chelsea fans, even City fans now mentioning Champions League to me. I'm like, we need to just shut these lot up.
Okay, Robin, just finally then. So, we got the game coming on Wednesday. I guess my question to you is, how do you think we'll do? And do you think we can go on and really do something special in the tournament this year?
I think it will be a difficult game, I think people might underestimate PSV this season because we played them last season. But the difference is they have a very proactive, very high-pressing coach this season, Peter Bos. Last season it was Van Nistelrooy, of course. But this season, this manager is known in the Netherlands as very attacking. And he sticks to his style, away or home, it doesn't matter to him. So I think it will be very difficult. I think this will be the most difficult game in the group, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to have to cut you off. My technical staff advisor, we've got quite a few calls coming in, which is understandable given the subject. But listen, thanks very much for your call, boy. I appreciate that. Speak again soon. Thank you.
Okay.
Ryan.
Yes.
Yo.
Yes, Laurie and Tux. You good?
So, Premier League or Champions League? Let's get straight to it. What's your preference? What would you prefer? What would you rather win?
Well, I'd rather prefer to win both, to be honest. But I think
you can't get greedy, man. You can only get one.
Listen, well, Arsenal, we need to start thinking greedy. But if I had to pick out of the two, I would still go and pick the Premier League because I think that's your bread and butter domestically. But at the same time, I'm sick and tired of Chelsea, Man United, and City fans just telling us champions of Europe, you'll never sing that, all of that rubbish. But I do think Arteta, with the group we're in, we've got to make sure we're top in the group, because if you look at PSV, Seville, and who else is in the group? PSV, Seville, Lons. Lons. Yeah, that's, let's be real, that's like a Europa League group nearly, man. If we can't top the group and try and get as far in the competition to try and make our stance on our first year back in how long? 6-7 seasons now. If we're not having that ambition of trying to make sure we're gonna do something, we're not gonna set ourselves in a good stead for future seasons in the Champions League.
I would agree with it. I would agree with that.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm seeing some of the comments, man. I just want to put it out there that we all want to win both. Like me, 100%. Ryan, Laurie, everyone else, we want to win both, and that is the target. Because some people are confusing the question for, are we prioritizing one? No, there's no prioritizing anymore. We've had Arteta now. It's his fourth season. We've spent a hell of a lot of money. We challenged last year in the Premier League. It's about going for both. The question is, which one do you prefer? It's not which one would you prioritize. The question is, which one would you prefer to win? And I'm with Ryan. Overall, I'm with Ryan, but like I said, that Champions League, the opposition fans.
Which one would you say is more winnable? Because they're both difficult.
It's a very good question, Laurie, to be honest. People may think I'm crazy for saying this, but I do still think the Premier League. But I look at the level and the quality of the Champions League, Laurie, and it's not as high as what it's been in previous seasons. Like I even look at last season. If we was to get on the other side of the draw with see how I looked at AC Milan, Napoli, and Inter last season. The way our Inter Milan's run was to go and face Man City last season. If we could get an Inter Milan type of draw in terms of avoiding the Real Madrids and Bayern Munichs and etc., I don't see there's no reason why Arsenal can't reach the semis or maybe potentially get to a final, depending on how Arteta manages the squad in terms of rotation, knowing when to bring certain players in. Managing Bukayo Saka in this Champions League this season, for me, is going to be vital for our Premier League run to sustain with Man City as well. So I watched little factors like that, I think. Yeah.
I was going to say, I watched the Champions League quite closely. I did a lot of watch-alongs for our sister channel, DR Sports. And I've got to say, I'm with you on that. The quality wasn't... I didn't look at a lot of those teams and think, wow. You know what I mean? Obviously, City were very good. They were excellent, and they were the deserved winners in my view. But I'm looking just beneath that, and some of the other teams, even Milan, I'm thinking, we were at that level, bro, or we should be.
I think we'd beat them. Beat them, Laurie. Yeah. The only two teams I would look at, I think, Man City, Bayern and Real Madrid. You look at those three.
Yeah.
I look at Barcelona. I think, yes, that would be a hard draw over two legs if we was to get them in the last 16. But Barcelona aren't that same Barca when they had Messi, Xavi and Iniesta. Like, it's not the Barca of old, but I do those. Other than those three, I look at everyone else and I think, why can't Arsenal beat them? Yes, I know it's going to be our first season in the Champions League. The pressure will be on Mikel Arteta and for us to perform in this competition. But I still think we need to go toe to toe with teams in all competitions. I don't want us to be throwing any competitions away this season as well, man.
Definitely not.
But I don't know what you guys think.
Definitely not. Although I do believe that in terms of priority, it will be. And I know we spoke a little bit about priorities, but I would imagine, this is just me thinking out loud, that Mikel Arteta and Edu and those guys will prioritise in the Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup and Carabao Cup. And I think that the domestic cups will come a distant second to the Premier League and the
Champions League.
And it is all a balance, because last season people could say we ended up prioritising with the changes we made against Sporting, and we left our best Emirates season probably, or one of the top three best Emirates seasons, with nothing. So there's a balance to it all. If you're going to make a sacrifice in a certain competition, then best believe you better come win the next one, because I don't think it's acceptable to go so many years without a trophy, and I don't think off the back of last season it would be acceptable to go into February next year and say, what are we prioritizing? No, we should go on all fronts. And Ryan's right, the Champions League is not what it was. Since YouTube and the content creating world has come in, and live chat, that there's a very young audience on Twitter and stuff. The Champions League is not what it was.
Of course, 100%.
And people argue with me about this, and I'm just like, football is not what it was, let alone the Champions League. The Champions League growing up, there was at least 12 teams that could win it. 10 to 12 teams that could win it.
You know what, Turkish? Sorry to cut you there. You made a good point on the Big Six last night as well, because I was tuning in.
Come on.
The game's all about systems now, and playing, people talking about sixes, eights, like where I work at and in my group chats as well. Football's completely changed now. Back then, people call it low blocks now. Back then, it used to just be called sitting back. Like, it's little things like there's so many different words and stuff It's crazy, Laurie. I'm telling you, man.
The shit house their way to victory. That was low block back in the day.
Yeah, that's true.
They shit housed it.
Trust me. Like, it's crazy. But I do think PSV will be a hard game on Wednesday night, though. I won't lie to you. Like, yes, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I watch the Dutch league. I'll be lying if I said I watch every single game. But I know that they've sacked Van Nistelrooy, and I've not done too much research on their manager, but I just remember that Europa League game, the 2 Europa League games that we played with them last season. The Emirates game, we beat them quite comfortably in the end. But when we went out there and played them in Holland, they gave us a tough game that night, man. And correct me if I'm wrong, was that the last game of our the last set of that was like the last game of like the group?
Yeah.
It was match day 5 or 6 anyway. So we had qualified by them, but I do think from what I've kind of seen from like their form and on YouTube and that, they're a very counter-attacking team. So it'll be interesting what Arteta does with the midfield and everything.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Got a few other people waiting. So, love the call. Thank you very much.
On this whole new school thing and words, the other day on Twitter, I saw field tilt. Have you seen that before?
No, I haven't.
I can't even get into it because I don't know what's going on, but someone just put field tilt and percentages and said that these percentages indicate that we're on the right trajectory. I'm just there like field tilt. Well,
that's a new one to me. Yeah, but I'm aware that
James will be using that on Tactical Insight next week. The field tilt in this game, Graham, it was 94%. Get out of here.
I guess it's inevitable though in the world that we live in now. You know what I mean? You're gonna get all these people breaking things down and giving new buzzwords and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, all that matters is you put that ball in the net more than the other team.
Yeah,
that's at the end of the day. That's what counts.
Trust me.
Right, we got another call.
Hello, bro.
Hi, guys. How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
I'm good, man. If I could just ask your name and where you're calling from?
Calling from London. I've been living in Australia about 8 years, but I'm originally from London, but I'm back here for a holiday. So I'm enjoying actually being around the football scene in the UK again.
Yeah, okay, thanks for your call. So what did you think of the strap line there? You can only choose one, Premier League or Champions League. If you could only choose one, which one are you taking?
So I choose the Premier League, and similar to what you've been saying, Laurie, I think it is the most reflective of your pedigree, of your ability, of your consistency. I think in sport and in life, it's very important to remain consistent and to follow processes and to adhere to a certain standard. And I think over the course of a 38 game season, you're going to see the cream come to the top.
Yeah.
And I think it's the best reflection of where your side is at. So I would definitely say the Premier League. However, one thing I would say is I think it's a little bit naive of people to underplay the quality of the other teams in Europe, because I think maybe because we don't see as much of them on the television, we might be more inclined to underrate them. But I think what we learned last year in the Europa League is if Arsenal are 80%, we'll get found out. Sporting Lisbon did a job on us last year. So I want to see a little bit of an improvement in Europe. Yeah. But in terms of what I prefer, I would go with the Premier League.
Yeah, Turkish, what's your thoughts?
No, you know, when I and Ryan earlier say, you know, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man City, they're the three favourites. And after that, you know, it can be anyone's. It could be Arsenal fourth, Napoli. There's a few. It's not really me undermining any of the other clubs because, listen, I've learned over the last few years, Sporting Lisbon, Villarreal, Olympiacos. In the Europa League, we've been knocked out to very much Europa League teams. So I'm not saying Inter Milan can't knock us out or AC Milan or, you know, these other teams are going to be a threat. But what I'm saying is off the back of last season where the only competition we had in the Premier League was Manchester City, we, for 32 games of the season, was on course for a 90-plus point season, which has only been achieved by Liverpool and Manchester City in recent years. I look at this Champions League with the money we've spent in the summer and the additions we've made as one where we shouldn't fear many clubs. That's not me saying that other clubs can't knock us out. It's just me saying, I'm fearful or wary of a few clubs that if we draw Real, if we draw Bayern, if we draw City, I'll probably resign that this is an L. You know, we'll probably go out of the competition. But any other team, I'd fancy our chances. That's not to say Napoli wouldn't knock us out. If they had us over two legs, they can. But I wouldn't be fearful of them or wary of them. I'd go in confident. There's only 3 clubs I'm not confident against. And with Champions League, it's luck of the draw. 2 of those 3 clubs could face each other. And then you've got 1 club that you need to worry about. And then, you know, if you get the luck of the draw, maybe that 1 club gets knocked out.
I think the element of luck that you've highlighted there is a big thing in the Champions League because unlike the Premier League, which is 38 games, so you've got a long period in which to establish that you're the best. In the Champions League, because there's that element of luck, the draw, injuries, loss of form, suspensions, whatever, there might be that day when you come up short, when on another day you would be expected to beat that team. Yeah. And I think that's more likely to happen in the Champions League than it would in the Premier League, if you see what I mean. Yeah. So, it's fine margins, you know what I mean?
And one other thing, guys, that I want to see, I want to see Arteta's a bit more evidence that he's learned from his previous experiences. So I think something that's cost us the last 2 seasons has been a lack of rotation early in the season. Yeah. And I always compare managers with how Pep does it, because I feel in the first sort of 3-4 months of the season, he'll kind of rotate his squad a little bit. Certain players will get pulled out and you won't see them for a few weeks. Then they'll come good at the end of a season. Guys like Gundogan, Mahrez, we've seen in the past. Whereas with Arteta, I've kind of sensed that he's overplayed certain people like Saka, Martinelli every single week. Yeah. So I just want to see his nous in terms of managing his resources a little bit more intelligently.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
Because if you think about it, the last 2 seasons, we've really come unstuck towards the end. And I know rival fans like to throw the whole bottling thing at it. But for me, it's always a physical thing rather than a mental thing. And I think if physically the team are running out of energy, then that's what's caused these drop-offs at the end of the season.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. And I'm with him.
I think that's a great point.
Because a lot of I won't call it excuses because there are more reasons. A lot of the reasons why we finished 8th a couple of times and, you know, we missed out on top 4 to Tottenham. And even last season, some may call it reasons, some may call it excuses, but they are more reasons to me than excuses. inexperienced young team, the manager's first time in a title challenge coming up against Man City and Pep. There's all of these factors, and then you look at the squad and the rotation, and he probably had to go with a first 11 for the majority of the season last season because he didn't have the depth he could trust. But this season, after bringing in Havertz, Rice, and unfortunately Timber, who's now injured, there isn't that excuse anymore. So one name you mentioned, which is Saka, I am worried because I don't feel like we've got... Reece Nelson signed a new contract, but I just didn't see enough trust in Reece Nelson last season to say that this season we've got enough behind Saka to be able to rotate him sufficiently. But I'm just going through my concerns.
And Turkish, can I just pick up off that? I think that's a real prime case in point, because do you guys remember the Nottingham Forest home match last season when we won 5-0, I think it was? Yeah. Saka came off injured like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
Reece Nelson comes on and was man of the match.
2 goals.
And I just think Arteta has to see that and think we can replicate that very blueprint in, let's say, 50% of the other matches. So you can't tell me that Reece Nelson playing against half of the teams in the Premier League isn't going to be good enough. I just feel like surely the quality in the other areas of the pitch is enough to overcome the teams in the bottom half. So I just feel like the word you use is trust, and I think Arteta maybe has to trust his second string players a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for that, bro. You made some very good points there. And I would close by saying, we used to have a player at the Emirates called Emil Smith-Rowe. Remember him? But anyway, straight to the next caller. Hey.
Hello.
Hello. You are, sir?
My name is Mo. I'm calling from Nottingham.
Okay, nice.
Yes,
man. Nice to be here. Nice to meet you guys.
Thank you very much, bro. So, you've seen the title there. You can only choose one, the Premier League or the Champions League. Which one would you prefer?
I just straight away for Premier League, man, because for me, I think we need to kind of see what the state of the Premier League's been for the last, 6-7 years.
Yeah.
It's basically been City, Liverpool, and that's pretty much it. No other team outside the top 6 has even come close to a title race in that time. You can say like United, they got to 70, 80 odd points, but it wasn't really a race, It wasn't really a title race. So I just feel like that next step for me, because like you guys have already touched on the Champions League, the status of football in Europe, it's just not the same as it has been throughout, the last couple of years. So I just feel like the standard of the Premier League, even though City have been winning it every year, as we've been seeing, I just feel like for us to take that next step with Arteta, I think that will sort of get all the fans on board to say, okay, this is his project. His project has basically been complete, because for me, the Champions League, I just feel like it's always going to be there, These next couple of years with our team, the age profile within the team, it's like, it's not really a rush to win. The Champions League kind of comes with being in it, it's our first time, for us to go on and win it. It would I would see that as a long shot, but the Premier League, I feel like it's a little bit more realistic considering the title race we're in last year. So
definitely. I actually do think that the Premier League is the harder of the two to win. And as I said before, it's because of the longevity aspect. The fact that you're playing 38 games in all different types of terrain, going up and down the country week in, week out, coming up against all different teams with different styles, the physicality, the intensity. I spoke about the rivalries in terms of the ones we have with Man United, Liverpool, Man City, and then you got the North London derby. Then you got 6 other teams, London teams as well. The London derbies can be very
Aston
difficult.
Villa now as well,
so
many teams.
right throughout, you can see there that it's shark-infested waters, Turkish.
Yeah, it's funny because what you said is true. The Champions League's weaker than what I remember 20 years ago. Or even 7 years ago when we was last in it. The Premier League is a lot stronger than it was 20 years ago. Even though I think the quality of football has definitely gone down in all aspects because of these systems and whatnot and the lack of freedom players got. The Premier League is harder to win now than ever.
Yep.
The Champions League, and listen, opposition fans in the chat watching this, maybe it gets clipped. the Champions League is easier to win now than it was 20 years ago. But some people say, "Oh, how can you say that as an Arsenal fan?" Yeah, we haven't won it, but I'm a football fan. I watch.
As well, can I just say, like with the Champions League, I just feel like it's so just luck of the draw kind of thing. Like we could, let's say we finish top of our group, we play against, let's say, I can't really remember the groups, but we come up against like a decent team that we should be in the like round of 16. You get to the quarters, then you could come up against any team. Do you know what I mean? We could get Real Madrid in the round of 16, get knocked out, no one's surprised kind of thing. So I just feel like it's literally just a bit of just luck kind of thing. So that kind of takes into the fact that it's just the thing where I just feel like we have time with the Champions League. Like, I don't think there's any rush to win it. We've never won it before, and it's like I feel like we need a bit of time to get into that rhythm of European football at the top level again. It's like the first time I watched AFTV was literally when we lost 10-2 to Bayern. That was the last time we were at the Champions League. Do you know what I mean?
It's the last time the first time Turkish gave an interview, then.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And if I gave an interview that day as well, it would have been I would have been on the same vibes because we were all pissed that day. But it's just I just feel like
we're still traumatized from that.
Yeah, still to this day we hear about it.
But anyway, Mo, my technical team advised me that we got a few calls. But listen, man, thanks for the call.
Okay, well, thank you so much, man.
You must call back. You must call back.
For the love, bro.
Love for the love, my guy. Come on.
So I'm just looking at this game tomorrow with PSV. They're no mugs, because they are actually currently top of their domestic league. They played 4 games and they've won all 4.
They've scored 13 goals in their last 3 games.
Yeah, so they will be coming to the Emirates with an elevated level of confidence. So that will not be an easy game. So I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that just because I've said that the Premier League is harder to win than the Champions League, that somehow PSV are going to be easy work. No, certainly not.
I'm can't go in with that mentality.
No, absolutely not. We've got to humble ourselves. And show respect to the opposition, go in there and do our thing. I do think it's a winnable game because I don't think that the Eredivisie is as strong as the Premier League. No way.
Nah.
However, PSV are there to be respected as a team that they are, topping their table in their own domestic league, which is something that we're not doing at the moment. So we have to show respect. But I am expecting to do well in that game.
100%. We should win it. 3 points. I'm not even messing out. Listen, I agree with everything you said. We should not take them lightly, but we should be beating them at the Emirates. And if we go in and we lose or draw our first game in the Champions League at the Emirates, listen, it's not a disaster, but it's not the right way to re-enter the Champions League, because it's also about sending a bit of a message as well. I know people might call me a message merchant because at the beginning of the season, after 2-1 against Forest, was that the first game? 2-1 Forest.
Yeah.
After we conceded the goal, it was about, for me, send the message, like clean sheet, strong win. Let the other clubs know that last season wasn't a fluke, you're serious. So I want us to let the other European teams know, and even the Premier League teams, against PSV this Wednesday, wipe the floor, 3-0, 3-1. You keep it
wipe
moving.
The floor, wow.
Well, it's a bit of a wipe, 3-0, 3-1. I'm not.
But on that game, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to digress into this somewhat. Tomorrow's game now. Massive game, Arsenal versus PSV at the Emirates. First time back in the Champions League for 6 years.
Yeah,
fans are very expectant. What team would you like to see selected tomorrow? We've already seen at the weekend we had the goalkeeping change. On that, do you think that the manager will revert back to type and bring in Ramsdale for this game?
For me, your first choice keeper plays Premier League, Champions League, and FA Cup.
Right, so you're not in this rotation thing.
No, I don't know. Is that
so,
the next,
that's
step of football? You're rotating.
No, but you know what? That's led me very nicely into it then. So if you're saying that you won't rotate, you're basically saying your number 1 keeper plays tomorrow. So who is that in your view?
It's in Arteta's view, it's Raya, because he started.
No, I'm you. What's
in my
view,
he started the last game, a Premier League game, an important away Premier League game. He is now our number 1 until he loses it.
Wow.
If Ramsdale comes in for this, it could be rotation based on team, even though I'll never get my head around rotating a keeper because of the way another team plays, because that's just nonsense. Or it might be that he wants Champions League to be Ramsdale's and then, Raya gets brought into the Premier League games. Either or, I'm not a fan of either. I think if the decision's been made to start Raya against Everton, in my opinion, when I saw that, my mind said he is our number one now. I'm not sure why it's happened now. It kind of, I'm digressing a little bit, but when I saw the team lineup and I saw Raya in goal, I said to myself, I think this was Arteta's plan from the very beginning. Wait for the first international break and start Raya in the first game back. Because there was no real reason for Ramsdale to get dropped or to be replaced against Everton. So I just felt like the timing was right for Arteta. And now he's done it, I'd expect to see Raya in again.
I must admit, I was impressed by Raya. Okay, he didn't have,
Shots
if any, saves to make.
I
I don't recall him making a save, but what I did notice straight away was his confidence. In fact, I would go even further than that. If you go back to just before the game when we started hearing stories that he might be in the team, and you saw him posting something on his Instagram with him, and all that. I thought straight away, that was a sign of his confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The man's there. He's like, I'm announcing myself, man. I'm here. In terms of his performance, like I said, don't recall him having to make a meaningful save against Everton. But what did impress me was his demeanour, his confidence, the way he came for the ball. Okay, I know there was one that he dropped, but I think it's fair to say he was fouled. His kicking, his distribution, the way he was communicating. I was watching him closely, the way he was shouting at the back line. There seemed to be that confidence there already. He looks like the real deal, man. And I might be with you, I think it's early to say, man, because I've got a lot of love for Ramsdale. He's performed very well. But I do think that they brought Raya into the club for a reason, because I'm aware that they were watching him for some time. And we tried to buy him before, and he
is a confident man.
I don't think this is no coincidence that he's just rocked up.
No, do I.
I don't go along with his theory. It opened up, and then we got him. No, I think that we wanted him from time.
I think the initial thing about it was, push Ramsdale some more, provide competition, and hopefully he continues on improving because of the competition. And with it being a loan to buy, we can analyse whether Ramsdale has improved, and we don't need that level of competition as backup, and we need a more normal backup who comes in worst case scenario, or Raya overtakes him and we've got two quality keepers going into next season. I just mentioned how some people will call the Ramsdale thing tactical against Everton, and to me that's nonsense. Dean here, and I'm Dean, I'm not drawing you out, but
you're not drawing him out, but you just read out his name and drawn him out.
Absolute nonsense. I could have just tipped my laptop onto the ground, because he said Ramsdale wasn't in the last game because he needed a rest. And this was
I don't go
if keepers start needing rest in the next 5-10 years, then I'm done with football. I'm done. It'll be UFC TV for me. Because goalkeepers, what do they need to rest for? I don't understand. But
I think it's more to do with rotation. Because the manager's sort of got a bit of a conundrum now. You've got two top quality goalkeepers. They're both going to want to play, innit? Let's be honest. I'm sure Raya wants to play tomorrow. He's had a little taste of the action, and he said, yeah, man, I like this. But I was saying to the guys when we did the watch along, I goes, the manager has a bit of a conundrum here, because presumably Ramsdale's going to start tomorrow. Okay, so you had Raya, he came in against Everton, kept a clean sheet, we won. Ramsdale comes in tomorrow, hopefully we will win, right? Best case scenario. But then what does he do at the weekend against Tottenham? Who gets the starting berth?
I think against Tottenham, without a doubt, it'll be Real. Tomorrow.
You do?
Yeah, tomorrow. Because
so what does that say to Ramsdale? You've been relegated now to... Well, is it a relegation? I guess it is if you're not playing week in, week out.
Yeah, if he gets the Champions League start, that tells me that Ramsdale will have the Champions League games and Raya comes in Premier League, and long term Raya will be the number one. Okay. But if Raya's picked tomorrow as well against PSV, then it's a long day. That
really would be problems. But let's see what the callers say, Terry. Let's see what the callers say. We do, yeah. On that and on the Champions League. Right, we have another caller. You are, sir. Your name?
Solomon calling from Nigeria. How are you doing? How are you doing, Turkish? How are you doing, Lord?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you? Right, so you've seen it there. Who starts in the Champions League tomorrow? Raya or Ramsdale?
No brainer for me. I think Raya is a very good goalkeeper. In fact, for me, I think it's a little bit better. I would have picked him ahead of Ramsdale for quality, but for me, I kind of have this passion, and I think I love Ramsdale. I'll just start Ramsdale.
You start
me.
Ramsdale. Okay,
Billy
that's
Graham.
interesting.
Ramsdale.
Yeah. Okay. But then who do you start in the North London derby then?
I'll still go with Ramsdale.
That's
I think
super high.
I would. Look, the truth is, I think, for a couple of years, I've lost love for the team generally. Like, we had players that I didn't actually like, but this time I can actually pick 4 or 5 players that are in the team that I actually love, that I would always want to see. Like, I wouldn't be happy even seeing them living. For example, it's like,
Oh, wow.
I had a question. I had a friend ask me a question and asked me, okay, I saw a question, it was online. I saw, would you lose Saka for a Premier League? And I actually was thinking about it that, okay, Saka, win the Premier League or keep Saka? And I was like, and I had to think, like, it was a difficult one for me. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It was a difficult one for me to choose between Saka and Premier League. And this is not because I'm stupid or I don't kind of want to win trophies, but I've kind of fallen in love with the teams. I can tell you, Martinelli, I don't want to lose Martinelli. I don't want to lose William Saliba. I don't want to lose Bukayo Saka. And I don't know if you get what I mean. That's just it right now. So North London Derby, I'm just going to be starting Ramsdale. Like, Raya still needs to do something to convince me, really. But for now, I'm in love with Ramsdale.
How old are you, Solomon?
I'm 34.
So you've seen quite a bit. You support Arsenal a long time?
Yeah, all my life. I think I grew up since the days of Kanu. Nigeria. Kanu happens to play for Arsenal. I think I fell in love the first time I saw Arsenal play. Then another thing that really caught me was the idea of having giving the younger players chance to actually play. Then when the likes of Fabregas came up to play, Theo Walcott, I kind of just love everything about the team. So I think I started watching football properly during, I think, the year of the Invisibles. That was when I really was watching. Really, I didn't really watch before then, but I think I met the Invisible.
So that would have been round about the last time we won the Champions League. Sorry, the Premier League.
Yeah.
Which brings me to which brings me to my question for you. Which would you rather? If you could only win one this season, which one are you going to take?
For me, it's no brainer. It's going to be the Champions League. I hear callers come on here and they speak, they kind of prioritize. But for me, let me ask you a question, Laurie and Turkish. Let me just ask you this.
Sure.
Chelsea won the Champions League and finished 8th. Remember that season?
Yeah.
Turkish, I want to ask you. Arsenal finishes 15th, wins the Champions League. Do you have any problem with that?
I've got a problem, but not to opposition fans. I'm going to chat shit to them, but I've got problems with finishing 15th.
I'm just trying to get the point out here. Like the Champions League actually means, because the Premier League, we are always in it. Like we've always been in the Premier League. Like it's just it. And there is always a chance if you don't win it this year, you win it next year. But the thing is, the Champions League for me is just it. 2005, I will not tell you, like I went to bed that night without eating a single meal. Like my parents.
2006.
Yes, 2006. Yes, I couldn't sleep that night. I felt sick, all because we lost. When Belletti scored that second goal, I felt sick. As in, I was very, very sick because of that particular. I cried that day because I lost a lot that day. I wasn't really happy. So, giving me the chance to win the Champions League and the Premier League, of course, it's no brainer. I'm going to take the Champions League any day, anytime. Even if we finish 8th or we finish 4th. Chelsea finished 8th, and it didn't really matter. They're in the Champions League. They're still in the Premier League. They can do well afterwards. But most of the time, what is important for me is the Champions League. For me, any day, anytime, I think I'll prioritize the Champions League.
I was gonna, now you've said that, it kind of eliminates the question, but I was gonna rephrase Laurie's question and say, from where we are now, and I know your answer already, but it kind of reaffirmed my answer, which is the Premier League, even though I'm kind of swaying through both. So from here right now, this is how our season pans out. We get knocked out of the group stage of the Champions League, but we win the Premier League, or we finish 15th and win the Champions League. I'm taking Premier League and getting knocked out the group stage of the Champions League all day, because winning the Premier League is a far better reflection of where you're going and where you are than winning the Champions League and finishing 15th, as Chelsea's last one proved.
Because that can be more, with respect, that can be more put down to good fortune. Okay, you have to play well, but that could be more good fortune. Whereas in the Premier League, the point I'm trying to make is because it's week in, week out, because of the intensity, because of the rivalries, you have to be on it pretty much every week. So that is a better reflection of where you are as a club. Although I do get your point. Winning the Champions League, it's got global kudos. So, for example, you're in Nigeria, a great country, you know what I mean? And you guys love your football. So maybe I can see why outside of the UK, winning the Champions League is a bigger thing for you because it's more of a global achievement.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that. But for us, who live in London, who follow the team week in, week out, there's something about being the champions of your own country. As we say over here, no guy can't talk to you. You know what I mean? No guy from another club can't talk to you.
Yeah,
because
you know
you
what?
can stick your chest out and say, we're the best in the country.
I just want to mention something before I leave. Look, it's not as if I do not want us to do that. I actually would prefer the team do well on both fronts.
Of course,
you play well
of course,
of course. And definitely you play well in the Champions League. Even if we don't win the Champions League, even if we have to finish in the Champions League, like in the semi-finals or quarterfinals, and even if we don't end up winning the league, I actually am good with that. But considering the question is, which would I prioritize? I think I would prioritize the Champions League. That is, if the God of football was supposed to give me one thing today, I would ask for the Champions League, because Turkish, I expect. Look, I shout out to Turkey on the Big Six. I just need Turkish to be able to cook Said properly. Said has, you don't know how. I saw a clip of East this today online. He was talking about focusing on our manager. Arteta has spent 400 million and something like that.
Yeah.
Look, this guy is chatting shit. Turkish, I need the Champions League so I can just rub it on him, rub it on Chelsea, on Matisse, rub it on every one of them out there. And look, for Toby is my guy, he's Nigerian, I love him. He just cannot get up to us, no issues. But you see Turkey, you see Matisse and Said should actually get it. So look, for me, it's not very nice. Champions League anyway. Any day, anytime is the Champions League.
Okay, Solomon, that was a great call, man. Thank you very much. Big up to the Niger Massive as well. But yeah, he does make some pertinent points there. The fact that we've never won the Champions League. I mean, it's interesting he mentions Toby and Tottenham there, because a few years ago when they got to the final, man, I've never been a Liverpool fan for so much in my life, man. If they'd have won that game, I don't know what I would have done. That was nearly. I'd have had to have gone and got some therapy.
The lowest moment of my life when it comes to football was that Champions League final against Barca. But you see when Tottenham made it against Liverpool,
Gosh.
I thought that was it. I thought if they do this, then
that is in it. Then what we're gonna do, man?
How have we let it come this far where they make more money than us now? They won the Champions League.
Something that we've never done.
But listen, thank God, thank Liverpool.
Yeah, I'll always respect Liverpool for that.
Sadio Mane, whoever else, that penalty and all that. Thank you so much. We move.
Okay, my technical team's advisor, we've got a few more callers. Who we got?
Listen,
there he is. There he is. For those of you who don't know, we got BFG on the line.
Listen, I'm here. I got a phone call. Someone said, "Look, I have to jump on." So I said, "Let me shout out the man. I'm there tomorrow. Innit?"
Oh, nice.
What you lot saying?
Wait, what's your name and where you calling in from?
Listen. Anonymous. Don't worry about that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a big game tomorrow, though, man. It's a big game tomorrow for sure. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited because it's been 8 years, isn't it? It's been a long time, man. And 7 years. Yeah,
7 years.
It's been a long time, man.
Too long.
You know what? I saw. I think it was only person in our squad that's played in the Champions League is El Nene, innit? So it's a thing where for us, innit? So it's kind of crazy to think
he's the last one left. In fact, I've actually got the team that played in that last round of 16 game against Bayern when we got smoked, and I'll go for it very, very quickly. We had Ospina in goal, Kieran Gibbs, Laurent Koscielny, Mustafi, Bellerin, Xhaka, Coquelin, Ozil, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Iwobi and Sanchez. And the substitutes, Petr Cech, Gabriel Paulista, Olivier Giroud, Theo Walcott, Nacho Monreal, Danny Welbeck, Mohamed El Neni. I think,
We were
just very
strugglers,
quickly, the only one of those man that would probably get in the team now, obviously Xhaka's was in the team, but he's gone, is Alexis Sanchez. But anyway.
So, yeah, man, it's going to be a big game. But you know what? I feel like, obviously, the team lineup's going to be important because, obviously, we've got a big game on Sunday, innit? Which is, obviously, I don't know which game is more important. I don't know what. I feel like partly it's kind of like, when you look at it, the club, I think that tomorrow's game is more important, but the fans will probably think Sunday's game is more important because ultimately, what one do we have more chance of winning? I'll probably say the league. So if that's
you
the
do,
case,
wow.
Yeah, I think because
you think we can overcome Man City over 38 games?
You know what though? Because I think that the top 7 teams, I know they ain't done it so far, but I think that they can do something against Man City in the league, especially away from home. So I think it's a little bit of a better barometer. But if you look at Europe, now shout out to Turkish, he said this from before the season even started. We should be thinking that we can go quite deep in the Champions League. So I just think, so I look at it myself and I'm like, you know what? I feel like Man City is just set up for them to do it back to back. And, you know, there's all this heritage, Real Madrid, etc. So I think it's difficult to go home and away against these big teams and, you know, expect to do something and win it.
Could I just ask quickly, what's your bare minimum requirement for the Champions League? What's your minimum that you'll accept?
Depending on the draw, I'll say quarters. We have to get out of the group because the group isn't that difficult. I think we should be topping it. And I think if you top it, you don't play in the next round because isn't there some sort of game where like they decide who the second?
No. That was because of the Europa League.
Okay, yeah. See, look, that's how you know I'm a rookie,
bro. And it's changing next year. So as much as we're getting used to this again, it's changing. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, but I think for me, the next round, 9 to 16, we should definitely be. Most teams we should be alright, and I think we don't play no English teams as well. So you can't play Man United if they get through, Man City or any of the other teams. So yeah, I think we should be able to go through, man. We should be able to beat these teams, and especially if someone like Real Madrid, they finish top. So we won't be playing these teams anyway. So I think we should have enough to get through. And then the quarterfinals is just the luck of the draw, isn't it? Yeah. It's the luck of the draw. But I think the league is definitely something which I think we should be going for. And we should be trying to put all our efforts in because ultimately, I think we were so close last season. You know, everyone keeps saying we were there 93% of the time. We've added some players. And then I think over the course of a season, the same problems that Arsenal will have, Man City will have. So, you know, Liverpool are here now. They're gonna raise questions to Man City and us. I think you look at someone like Brighton. They're showing that they're capable of beating teams on any given day. You've also got Aston Villa who can turn up, Newcastle that can turn up. So I do think that.
And let's not forget as well, Gunali, some of the teams nearer the bottom will be fighting for their lives.
There you go.
On any given day, man. I mean, you saw what Everton did to us last season. Remember what happened? We rocked up there, man. They're in the bottom 3. They appointed a new manager. They hadn't won for God knows how long. We turn up and they beat us. So this is what I'm saying about the Premier League.
Do you think I'm crazy though? Do you think it's easier to win the league or the Champions League?
I think the league. I don't think none of them are easy.
Yeah,
but I think the Premier League is more. I get it. I think the Premier League is more difficult. Definitely.
You know what's fucked? Both routes end with Man City for me, and it doesn't end well. So with Champions League, you got a chance to not play Man City, get to the final, and still win it without playing them. With the Premier League, you play them twice; it's a must. You might be right. It might be Champions League. It's the luck of the draw.
You think Champions League's harder?
No, easier.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because of the luck of the draw. You might avoid the teams that you're worried about. Whereas in the Premier League, you're playing them home and away every single season.
And like I said, I spoke earlier, Gunali, about the rivalries that exist in domestic football. So, okay, we got the Man Uniteds, we got the Man Cities of this world, Liverpool. Those are all massive games. But then closer to home, London, you got Tottenham's obvious North London derby. But there are 7 teams in the Premier League that come from London, which equates to 6 other teams times 2 games. That's 12 games out of that 38 are London derbies. And you know, London derbies, man, that in itself is a difficult game.
I just think that from my angle, I was looking at it and I'm saying, look, I think that there are more teams that can put up a fight to Man City. I know Man City are really, really good, and right now they look to be steamrolling teams, but I do think that on any given Sunday, that famous quote, on any given Sunday, Man City can drop 2%, 5%, and teams can give them a little bit of a spanner in the works. And I think that could work in our favour. And you look at it last season, if there was a Liverpool or just one more team to take 6 points off of them, it would have been a lot easier for us to win the league, because obviously, you know, we wouldn't have been so close to them at points. And obviously we could have done our job as well, because we have to look at home. But ultimately, I do think if there are more quality teams, that takes away from Man City. But over 2 games, Man City are gonna in the Champions League, they're gonna turn up. And you know, if we played them in the final, I know it's in Wembley, we've got a great record there, so I'll feel a bit more confident. But I just
the one thing I would say as well, Lee, about the Champions League, where it is a little more difficult, is that Turkish made the point earlier, and I do agree with him, by the way, that if you look at some of the teams, they on paper anyway, or even going back to last season, they don't look as formidable as they did in previous years. But one thing I would say, we've not been in the Champions League now for 6 years, and also tactically it's different. It's not as fast, it's a little slower, and there's a few more tactical nuances in there. You're playing different teams from different countries, you're going flying abroad and stuff like that. So that in itself does make it difficult as well. So
it's going to be interesting, man.
Someone in the comment, Danny, said, if Premier League is more difficult, why do Man City only have 1? This is what we talk about, luck of the draw. And to be honest, when you look at Man City over the last 6 years, Premier League teams have knocked them out majority. Chelsea in the final, Tottenham 1 year. Didn't Liverpool knock them out another year?
Yeah, Liverpool knocked them out.
So even the years they get knocked out, they got knocked out English club. Danny, I see a Liverpool logo in your DP. I could flip this around and say, if the Champions League is more difficult, then why have you won 2 and only got 1 Premier League?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Listen, it's difficult, man, because look, the Premier League is the war of attrition. You play against teams in like Luton, their grounds will play a factor into things. You play teams like Brentford who can mix it and do good football as well as lump it up there. So it is difficult. Both of them are difficult. But I'm just talking about, if you look at the comparison between the two, I just think that for Arsenal, where we are, we're trying to win the league. And I just think that if there are more teams that, you know, have more quality that we're used to, I think we can do more, because nobody can say to me, going to AC Milan, I know they're not as good in quality-wise, is easy. Going away to Inter Milan, it's not easy to do that. So we need to kind of, I'm not saying we have to wait, but we do need to have a little bit of a, you know, halt it a little bit and think, you know what, we need to have a little bit more grounded when we go to these games and think, you know what, this is a difficult kind of ground to go to, because you know, I think, what was it, the season that, what year was it, 12 or 11, when Sas Fabregas, we beat them in AC Milan in San Siro. Yeah, like teams don't go there and just do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not easy, bro. Like, so I don't know, man. I think people are kind of downplaying it a little bit too much, but it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting.
Will be.
Yeah, but I mean, these young, in terms of the league, these young players need to look back at what we was, and get us back to there. But these in the Champions League, these young players don't look back, because in the Champions League we've been nothing. Create something that the future players can look back on and say, we need to match up to that team. So it's a different outlook for the players, but in my opinion, with the Champions League, they've got a clean slate. Go in and just do something.
Okay. Well, BFG, thanks very much, bro, for your call, man.
I'm there tomorrow. Listen, man, people, make sure you smash the likes, and I'll be there.
Look forward to
tomorrow. We'll beat PSV, because I've been looking at their defense, man. I'm seeing man like Van Aanholt, bro. Come on, let's be serious, man.
Mind you, that they are 4 for 4, you know. At the start of the season.
I was just about to say, you know what? I don't want to say too much, because the last time I did this was Brentford last season, and you know what happened?
No, but they've lost Gakpo, they've lost Simmons and Sangari. I'm sorry.
That's true.
Their striker's Luke de Jong, 33, and yes, he's a decent striker. Come on, Arsenal, 3-0 them.
I know. When I saw Patrick Van Aanholt, I was like, come on, man, let's do it. You know what? I don't want to make them say.
Well, our worry is that he might have one big game still left in him. We hope it's not tomorrow. So
yeah.
But anyway, bro. Take care, man.
Love. Come on.
It's interesting on that whole which one's harder, Premier League or Champions League. I saw an interview recently with Thierry Henry, and he's obviously won the Premier League with Arsenal, and he's won the Champions League with Barcelona. Yeah. And he said very firmly, Premier League is the harder one to win. So that's interesting. Yeah. How are we doing in the poll, by the way?
So I got the poll results here. The poll ended a little while ago, but I did take a screenshot of it. And to be honest with you, Champions League was the winner with 62% of the votes.
So
Premier
most
League
people
got
would
38%.
rather win the Champions League. Interesting.
But I think partly what you said to Solomon about when you live in London or live in the UK, there's a lot more emphasis on
I
the
think
Premier League.
recency bias.
Because how many Real Madrid fans do you have as friends, or how many Barcelona fans, or Inter Milan?
That's right.
Whereas if you like me in NBA, like when I used to like NBA, I'd switch teams because I'd more follow players than I'd follow teams.
Yeah.
But when fans of Arsenal are supporting from afar, they tend to like the first caller Ajax because it's his local club, and Arsenal. So
no, that definitely
probably
does
adds to the debate, innit?
Yeah, we spoke about the global kudos of winning something like the Champions League means, especially to fans, Arsenal fans around the world, of which we have several 100,000 millions, I would imagine. Right, we got one last caller.
Dini,
Hey,
come
it's
on,
my man Dini.
long time, bro.
Okay, we got to be brief. We got to be brief, but we're very happy to have your contribution, bro. Let's go straight in. Champions League or Premier League?
Premier League. Very simple. 38 games. You know what I mean? That's this. At the end of the day, it's the bread and butter. Premier League gets you back into the Champions League. Kind of what you said. I want to beat everyone. I want to beat everyone in my own backyard first.
Which one's harder?
Which one's harder? I believe. I would say the Premier League, and I feel like only because of Turkish's point where you just said, when you break it down, like you can actually avoid like teams like City, Bayern, Real Madrid in a Champions League and get to a final without actually facing them. You're going to face the best team in the world in City twice in the Premier League every single time, and then you got Liverpool, and then you got other teams that are starting to come up now. So I'll take the Premier League every time.
Well, what would you say? What would you say to? Sorry to interrupt. I've got to ask you this. What would you say to those people? Say, yeah, that's all well and good, but we won the Premier League. Okay, it was back in 2004, whenever, nearly 20 years ago, but we've never won the Champions League. So the bragging rights that we get from that, being able to put yourself in a very select elite group of clubs, that should not be underestimated either, surely.
No, absolutely, I do agree. But if your Premier League season isn't doing well and you go for the Champions League, you don't win it. There's a chance you're not even in the Champions League next season to even have that, and then it's all of that process again, going back to the start, going back into Europa League. Then it comes into players asking about what the actual mentality of the club is. Do they want to go somewhere else? And there's all of those questions get started again. So I would rather focus on the Premier League first. And we still got people to deal with in the Premier League. And I'm talking about away grounds. I'm talking about away at the Etihad, away at Old Trafford, away at Anfield. These people still need to get theirs first. Do you know what I mean? They need to get there first. And it hurts me in my heart. You know what I mean? We've all had some bad times at those away grounds. You know what I mean? But at the same time, what Solomon said, I will only take this for one season and one season only. If we finish 10th and win in Champions League, I'll only take it for one season. But that can't be a repeat thing. We can't be having poor seasons in the Premier League because it's a much bigger reflection on us, and I'm not trying to have that person.
Would you agree with me though that if we finish 10th and win the Champions League, somehow it takes a little bit of the shine off it? Because realistically, how can you claim to be champions of Europe when you have not even finished in the top 4 of your own domestic league? In fact, you finished 10th.
I absolutely understand that, but at the same time, the Champions League is a cup competition, and in cup competitions, it doesn't matter how you get there. You just got to get there, and if you win it, you win it. Whether it means you're the best, this thing of the best team in the world, I get that. Would it concretely say you're the best team in the world? Debatable. It's debatable. You know what I mean? It's a weird debate, but
I guess you could also spin it and say, well, actually, this season we prioritise the Champions League, so. That's how you could spin it like that. You could spin it like that.
It's a blessing in the skies, you know what I mean? You can say it's a blessing in the skies and all that. You know what I mean? We have bigger fish to fry and all that. You can be saying one of them.
Just very quickly, because my technical team are telling me we got to close things up. 2 quick questions. Can we win tomorrow, and how far can we go in the competition?
We can absolutely win tomorrow. And it's in our hands how far we want to go. I genuinely believe, not because we're just backing it and it's just, I believe we have a good team. I do believe we can go all the way, but it's in our hands how we do that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely in our hands how we do that. It's in our squad's hands. It's in these players' hands how they do that. In these games, when they step up tomorrow, you have to make a statement, I believe.
And one absolute final one. Who starts in goal for you? Not for the manager, for you.
Who starts in goal for me tomorrow? I want to see Ramsdale in the Champions League tomorrow.
Okay.
I want to see Ramsdale start tomorrow.
Tottenham?
Say again? Oh, Tottenham. Nah. Yo. I'll get to Ramsdale.
Someone
I've seen him in North London, bro.
Someone actually said in the chat when I said Ramsdale tomorrow, Raya Sunday, and someone said, nah, Ramsdale Sunday because of his passion. And that's a good point.
Yeah, and that as well.
He's got that to him. And then the guy that kicked him last season at White Hart Lane. Yeah.
Okay.
Just brushed him off easily, but yeah.
Dini, my
Dini,
bro,
man, love, much love and much respect, bro. Call back soon.
I've got a few super chats just to get through before we wrap it up.
Go for it,
Ross says the priority is to try and win every competition. It is. Constantine followed up with we should be aiming to win both. That said, the Champions League is something other British teams have won, so it would be nicer to win it, but the Prem is harder. Completely agree. The best says winning the Champions League final at Wembley over Premier League winner. Obviously, the finals.
I must admit, that whole Wembley thing does throw a different type of light.
It is nice,
still.
but
because to be able to win the Champions League at Wembley in your own country,
I'm being spoilt now because I was just thinking if we did get to the final and win the Champions League at Wembley, would I have liked it to be in Madrid or Istanbul or somewhere? Nah. Listen, if we get to, let's win it. We're Wembley.
Let's just win it and worry about that later. Yeah,
they could play anywhere. If we're in it, let's win it.
Yeah, let's win it. Man.
Ryan says Raya for PSV in the Champions League. Oh, that was it. Ryan said it, and he said Ramsdale for Spurs in the North London derby, and he put passion in brackets. Delhi says Jesus has 20 goals in 38 Champions League matches. Clutch baller. Ibi says, who do you want at left 8 and left wing tomorrow and the North London derby? Left 8 tomorrow. I think we win with Havertz in it, so give him another go. But against Tottenham, I'd probably go with Vieira, because I think Vieira done well against Everton.
He did.
And left wing, I think Trossard starts both PSV and North London derby.
Yeah, I think so, especially with the injury to Martinelli. He would appear to be the obvious choice in there. But listen, we can jig things around a bit, you know. We spoke about Reece Nelson and Emil Smith Rowe. They need game time, man.
Yeah, maybe
I'm starting to forget that their man are still at the club.
You know what, it's true, but then Trossard didn't have many minutes, and it suggested that he's after minutes, so now is his time. Last one here. Rizwan says the Premier League is more difficult and the bigger trophy. 38 games and you need 90 plus points to win it. Premier League top 8 is better than 50% of the Champions League teams. Some very good points there, Rizwan. Some
very good points, and we're going to have to close on that note. But I must say, I've really enjoyed today's Fan Zone. I always enjoy Fan Zone because the sheer essence of it is that you're hearing from the people out there, some of them ringing from abroad. I've really enjoyed it. Turkish man, thanks so much for coming on. Got to have you back on very soon. Always a very good contributor.
And hit the like button, people. Real. Hit the like button. We've got 1,000 still here, 250 likes. Let's get it over 500. Let's get it to 1,000
let's
before
do that,
it ends.
Let's do that.
And the comment section, you might as well let us know. Is it Raya or Ramsdale for PSV? Is it Raya or Ramsdale for Tottenham? That's one of the questions. Is it Premier League or Champions League? It is.
Big talking point.
It is. When that happened, I was, I was trying to potentially come into full-time Fan Zone, but my flight was all mad, and I was still in Barcelona. But
because at the end of the day, I think, let's be honest, in the due course of time, there can only be one.
Yeah, that's
which one is it going to be? I mean, I'm looking at the TV this morning, and there's speculation that Chelsea are keeping an eye on Arsenal's goalkeeping situation.
They're keeping an eye on everyone's situation, Chelsea, man. They're trying. They're trying.
But you know what it is, though? Like, footballers, regardless of what we say and think about them, how loyal they are or might not be, at the end of the day, they all have egos. If you're a guy like Ramsdale, top quality keeper, he's proved himself to be, the fans love him and all that, that's all good. But at the end of the day, he's going to want to be playing first team football.
But he can't feel aggrieved. This is how he replaced
And the same
Leno.
goes for Raya. So
this is how Ramsdale replaced Leno. So he needs to not sulk and fight. And I don't think he will sulk. I think he will fight.
He will fight, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
But 2 into 1 don't go, bro.
No. And I'm not having this whole rotating keepers thing just because Arteta said it. Arteta said we played 60 formations in one game. Just some things take with a pinch of salt, people. Rotating keepers will not become a big part of football. Please. That doesn't even make sense.
I agree. And listen, thanks very much, guys, for everybody, the contributors in the chats, the super chats, the guys who rang in, people who are watching the show, people who watch the show later on. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. We'll be back with another Fan Zone on Friday. In the meantime, keep it locked and loaded on AFTV. We are out.
Love.